Welcome back to Cass's Cascan Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Marvelous, and I'm joined by the notorious one-star
Well, listen. I am the one star, but what makes you say I'm notorious, there, Marv?
Really? Oh, don't call me Marv. Don't ever call me Marv. But you want to know why you're notorious?
Well, if I'm not gonna call you
Is that a
Marv, tell
serious
me why
question?
I should be notorious.
Well, I mean, you see all the online chatter that's we're just drumming up all the
What
time.
chatter? You know what? We'll talk about that later. For now, we'll talk about our last review, Mr. Marv Alyss, and that is KPK versus Locked and Loaded. Once again, we're seeing the Golden Gun. We've seen two matches with the Golden Gun nominated. We've seen two matches with Forza nominated, haven't we?
Well, I think those are the pillars of Barrie
Of
wrestling.
Barrie Wrestling, which is
Yeah,
what we're reviewing here, just
they
to
they
give you
they
the
they they
spiel.
hold up Barrie wrestling with their foundation. So it's only fitting that they're in
Is that
five.
is that your decision? Is that your discrepancy? Is that your
Well,
noticing, or is that
there's
what makes you say
five
that?
matches that were nominated as the best,
What
and
makes you say they're holding up Barrie Wrestling?
well, there's five matches
Mhm.
that were the best, and
Yes.
there's consistency in the wrestlers that are in those matches. In that, two of them appear in two of the five, and
Okay.
that's Mark Wheeler and Gabriel Fuerza. But
So let's get right into the match here. This is a tag team match, and often, I love tag team matches. Like, I think tag team matches should be the basis of pro wrestling. Like in Japan and Mexico, especially, tag team matches and especially six-man tag matches are the bread and butter of a pro wrestling event. And then singles matches become the gimmick matches. They become special. They become where you're seeing who you noticed and enjoyed from these tag team matches shine. And I love tag team matches. What do you say, Runyon?
yeah, it's a lost art in a lot of ways, and especially at the lower levels, is that you have so many more options on things you can do to build, heat and the crowd and comebacks, and um it's a shame that really good tag team wrestling has been pushed to the wayside, and I kind of get it in some
I mean,
ways.
even in WWE, it's that way. In
Well,
WWE,
I,
like
what
it's
I was
hard
gonna
to
s-
book
what I was gonna
when
say is
essentially. Yeah, go ahead.
it's hard to book an actual tag team division because you're basically just multiplying the amount of spots on the show, right?
Yes.
And
And it becomes when you're doing it that way, it becomes a gimmick match. And now you're trying to book your meat and potatoes at a show, which is men's singles. And now women become a gimmick match, and tag becomes a gimmick match. And thus, it's difficult to book in a sensible way. Whereas I think if the tag and six mans are the meat and potatoes, it's easier to branch off into singles
right,
aspects. Is
right,
that
right.
is that track?
Well, yeah, like the only way you're gonna build a gimmick division, for lack of a better word, is to actually have feature the things on the show. But if you
So
have if you have a card with six matches and only one is a tag, it makes that difficult.
it's easier to sprout personal issues from tags or six mans than it is from singles, men and women, into tags. And I think that's all that needs to be said about that. But
Yeah,
now
so
we can get to the
um
rematch here.
KPK comes out. I like these guys. They got
I think
the
I want to say the entrances were both great. We get the information from the commentators that Locked and Loaded as former champions. There's only one thing I didn't like about the entrances. Kudos on the entrances, great beauty shots, great tag team work. Anything you have to say before I make a critique?
what are you critiquing?
The thing I didn't like is Brian Sinclair was not part of the beauty shot.
Fair enough.
He's
Yeah,
their
that's a good
manager,
point.
and he stayed on the outside. And as a guy who's been involved with many factions, as a manager in many of these aspects, it was a waste. Like later, especially later in the match, he becomes a very important story element in terms of how he's presented and what he brings to the table in terms of his physicality and aspects of his physicality, and it just isn't emphasized here in a way it could have been in an entrance. What you say?
I agree. Like if you're a group, be the group, you know. If the wrestlers go in the ring, the manager has to be around the
He was
group
an
and
afterthought,
promoting
and
the
he could
group.
have.
Yeah.
A manager should enhance. He should be there. Like when there's a group, the bigger it is, the more clout it gets. And when there's a manager saying, "Look at my guys, look at my guys, they're great," and he's in the part of that beauty shot saying, "Look at my guys,"
Especially as a
and there's
heel.
this, yes, and there's the disparity between the appearance, the height of the manager, wearing a suit or whatever he's wearing, and look at my big physical wrestlers, my muscle men, and Brian, he's even shorter than me. People say I'm short, I'm small. I mean, I don't really think I think I'm like, pro wrestler. I'm not fun sized, I'm pro wrestler sized. Maybe maybe Brian is fun sized, but we could have had a lot more fun if he was included in this entrance. What say you?
I mean, just in terms of establishing yourself and, working the crowd, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's some authority. He doesn't feel like he has a manager should have authority over his team. He should enhance them. But he felt like he was tacked on as an afterthought. Okay, you guys, we got a manager here. Let's put you with manager. No, a manager is so important. And it's so another bastardized. It's another bastardized thing in Ontario indie wrestling. Anyhow,
but I think overall I like the look of this group. I think I'll say that. But
that's
then
fine.
out comes Locked and Loaded, the
Yeah.
Golden Gun Mark Wheeler. What is the Golden Gun?
So we talked a little bit about this earlier. I really would like to know what the golden gun is. His finisher makes reference to James Bond movies.
What's
So
his
it seems to
finisher?
me, I forget, Skyfall? Is that a,
Oh,
I
that's
think
James Bond, yeah.
that's a James Bond movie. Golden Gun is a James Bond reference. So if I had to assume he's a mark for Nintendo 64.
Oh,
But
that's the best way to make a gimmick.
yeah, right. So I don't understand how he's James Bond. I don't understand how he's the Golden Gun, but I think there's something there. I like the sound of the Golden Gun. I like the idea of golden gear. I like the idea of James Bond, but don't make me connect the dots. Do it for me. Spoon feed me. There's something there, Wheeler. Come on.
Yeah, and I think it runs in line with part of the course of all these matches, whereas the announcers really didn't
And
enhance
he has a
anything.
great physique as well. He has
Hmm,
pretty good facial expressions. There
yep.
was a lot of stuff lacking in that match we last reviewed in terms of logic and intelligence, but I think there's a lot of potential with Mark Wheeler here.
Mhm. Yeah, so Locked and Loaded comes out, and then they got the KPK jump starts them, and then
And
Jesse,
why? Why?
yeah, like Jesse just bows up on them, and then the baby faces start shining, and it was kind of like, okay, what was the whole point of the jump start?
Yeah, and there's so much double teaming here. There's so much jump starting in this type of thing. And what I got out about this match was that KPK, no matter how much they double team, no matter how much they jump started, they could not equalize either one of these men. And that at a certain point in time, the momentum changed, and it was like nonsensical because we've already proven that two does not equal one when it comes to KPK versus LNL. What say you?
I could see that, and I wrote down this is just kind of super kicked wrestling where it's just they just go in the ring and just do a bunch of car crashes. And then I think Mark and Jesse,
But
well,
you're
Mark used to be
educating us. This match is educating us that two members of KPK, if it's a math equation, all right, you want to say 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 equals 1 plus 1, 4 equals 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2 equals 4. And they're educating us that KPK does not equal even one member of
well,
LNL.
yeah, I can get on with it, but this is what
And then at
it's
some
like.
point in time, it does. So, how does that track?
Well, yeah, but this is the nonsensical lack of psychology
And
Super
I
Kick
couldn't
Wrestling.
accept that. This is beyond me.
So then Jesse bows up on them, and then I think they just did a bunch of spots. I don't know if you want to talk about the spots. They're again, it's more like good, crisp, safe execution, but just kind of no context or reason.
Once the cutoff comes, which is a top rope elbow by Abu or Apu, I don't know, I don't remember. The heels are in control. Why does
Well,
that justify?
wait,
Why is that all of
we
a
have to
sudden
talk
okay?
about
We're
the
gonna sell
cutoff.
this move.
We have to talk about the
Go, yeah,
cutoff.
yeah, do it, do
So
it.
the manager, what's the manager's name? I
Sinclair.
know him. Sinclair. Yeah, so he gets up on the apron, and then Jesse comes from the other side and grabs Sinclair and carries him off, which I'm hoping was supposed to distract the ref, but the problem was the ref was standing in the view of the wrestlers in the match, and KPK did some kind of underhanded thing to get to cut off Mark Wheeler.
Hmm.
And I think it was, if the positioning was just fixed, the ref could then be drawn away, and then you do a quick little heat spot, which would then generate heat. But I don't know how much they were concerned about generating heat. But so I
Yeah,
think
and
that was a
furthermore,
little
the ref
messy.
didn't help in that regard because there at one point later, Abu comes in after Ahmed's flapjack with no absolute no tag, and the ref just lets them do it. And there's a liberal 8 count. The ref's doing liberal counts. The ref didn't even count them coming in, and he's just letting them come in and out without tags. And he's fully viewing this, and it seems like the ref needs a lot more confidence because the ref needs to be authority in that ring, and that wasn't the case here.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I harp on this with actual refs a lot, especially newer ones, that like you got to have balls,
Yes.
and you have to. You're the enforcement
The
of the
referee should
rules.
scare the Undertaker. The Undertaker's the scariest guy in the
Yeah,
history of wrestling. The referee should be able to say, "Look at my fucking stripes. Be scared." And the referee, the Undertaker, he isn't gonna go down to his knees and beg, but he's gonna okay, like back off. Like referee should be the scariest guy in that ring when he points when it's justified. Is that fair to say?
but it's important because without the rules, there's no context, purpose,
Hence our
logic, or
issues with the
reason
three-way
to
matches. The three
anything.
matches
Yeah,
were
yeah.
so
Well, the
stupid.
three way, they just throw the rules out the window.
But here
But
there are rules, and the ref isn't even enforcing them.
and I think that's what we were talking about earlier with tag team wrestling. Why it's kind of a lost art, because the rules are a little bit more complicated with tag team wrestling. But if you can spell it out for the crowd and follow along, it actually makes
Do
the
you feel
matches
they
more
spelled it
exciting.
out here? Do you
Not at
feel they
all.
spelled it out here?
Not at
Okay.
all. But yeah, we talked about the heat spot, and then
Because I'm going to tell
um
you this right now, Runyon. Maybe this is a spoiler, but this was the least memorable match to me. This was the least offensive match to me. But I'd rather a piece of art with warts. I'd rather a piece of art that's offensive. I'd rather something that brings me emotion, like we saw in some of the other matches where we're getting fired up. I'd rather see something with logic than here where they tried to paint by numbers and failed. What say you?
I agree. Yeah, and that's when I bring up all the points that I bring up, I'm bringing it from that viewpoint where the product that comes out is so much more enjoyable and has so much more depth if you set these things up and add, some context or realism to it. But then, so we're in the heat, and KPK's putting heat on Mark Wheeler, but it looks like they're just kind of running spots, which
Yeah.
isn't really going to generate heat. You're just doing a performance rather than actually trying to get the crowd to rile up against you. And I wrote down the refs being prostituted because it was a lot of like really long, extended distractions, and like if you abuse that, you just bastardize the ref to the point that there's no heat. So like, who cares if I did something behind the ref's back because I had a, a whole minute to do it, right? The
Yeah, there's an
the heat.
are you getting at the fact that there's an inconsistency with when there's double teams and whether certain individuals should be interfering or whether they're
Well,
watching
there
or
was
everything else.
that, but more than that, it was KPK trying to get heat, and so they're distracting the ref and they're doing stuff, but like if you have like this big of a gap to get away with something, whereas if you just really sneak it in like this big of a gap,
Yeah,
you get so much more heat, right? So
absolutely.
they're doing stuff and they're getting no equity out of it. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So they're running through this heat and like I mean the crowd's not really following along or anything like that.
At this stage in the match, all I really there's a lot going on, but all I really want to emphasize, Runyon, is that the referee, the most important thing to me is that he's inconsistent in counting. He's just watching wrestlers tagging in and out. He's watching illegal men. Why isn't there any incentive for everybody to be illegal when he's not making any counts?
Well, yeah, and it, it's important for the rules to matter because then otherwise there's no context, there's no logic or reason to anything, and it really hurts everything about the match.
That's why we dislike the triple threat match, and that's why I dislike this one here. There's inconsistency in selling when two wrestlers do not equal one on the opposite team, and then there's inconsistency when the referee is admonishing certain things and not others. And then finally, we get some interference here from Maddie Z, which allows Sinclair to utilize. I like this in certain ways. I liked it in certain ways. I didn't. I'm so conflicted. Sinclair, Brian Sinclair, the manager, had a cast or a brace on his foot, and once the distraction came, he allowed his wrestlers to use it to gain the advantage and eventually the finish. Do you have anything to say about this, Runyon?
Well, back up a little bit. There was a spot in the heat when um, KPK just completely clowned out Jesse V because he's on the apron and KPK is working over Mark Wheeler in their corner. And then they just turn around and do a full sprint at Jesse V and knock him off the apron. And
He
it's like,
saw it coming, and that happened. That's no surprise.
well,
We
you
saw it in the
think,
three-way as well. Well, no, no, no. You wouldn't, because in the three-way we saw Fuerza was coming in the ring and eating offense that was sending him to the outside. So it's been established in Barrie wrestling that fully watching an attack coming at you it doesn't matter. You're just gonna eat it.
well, fair enough. I don't have to like it though.
Yeah, I don't either, and I don't like this match. But furthermore, um, the ankle brace, the cast, the air cast, whatever you want to call it, on Brian Sinclair was not emphasized because, again, he was not included in the entrance and the beauty shot, and we didn't get a full body shot
Right.
of him. And if you were a viewer like I was, you wouldn't know that he had an injury. You wouldn't know that he had this cast to perhaps utilize. It was not emphasized by the camera angles. It was not emphasized by the commentators. What say you, Runyon?
Well, yeah, and again, it's just emphasizing the details and spoon feeding it to the audience that just makes watching it so much more comprehensible.
And then furthermore, once he gave his foreign object to the wrestlers, they used it on Wheeler, and Wheeler, he barely even registered the shot. He bumped for it, fed right up into a finishing move. So the finishing move beat him, not the cheating.
Yeah, yeah.
And the audience is going to remember the move because they're going to remember the big moment. He didn't sell the shot from the object, and thus that's not cheating, and thus that's jobbing out what it could have been a great heelish finish. What say
What
you?
it's just losing sight of the important parts, which
It's
the
called
important
getting your
parts.
shit in, isn't
Well,
it?
well, the important part is that the heels have heat, and using a foreign object to win is a way to get heat, but then if you
But
just
it's
threw
almost
a move on top
forgettable
of
once he bumps from the object, gets up, and feeds into a
well,
finish.
yeah,
It's
no,
forgettable.
and
There
it
isn't enough time to register and digest what happened from the
but
object.
exactly, especially how you do it, where, like, you get hit with this object and then you get up
That's
to
right.
then take another move.
That's
It's
right.
like, okay, so the
The
object meant
the
nothing.
object didn't beat him. The move did, and the move is more deadly than the object. When the object should be more deadly because it's illegal. I don't
Well,
have much more to say.
and yeah, and you want the heels to have heat. That's what makes you a good heel, is that
And there's no heat when the manager interferes and it's barely registered.
yeah.
The manager was here. Brian Sinclair's a good manager. With some good agenting, I think this could have been a great match. If like when I was running VCW, if I had these teams and I was able to give them some um, direction and some sort of destination, I think this could have been a great match. But for whatever reason, this did not come together for me.
Yeah, and they like they're good tag teams in terms of look. Like, you got one
Absolutely, they
team
look
with like
like teams.
two they look like teams. Yeah, they got one
They
team
look
that's
like the entrances I wanted to see this match.
yeah, and like you got these foreigner guys in KPK, and you got these big
And a
muscular
great
guys in Locked and
manager
Loaded.
that was lacking in
And the manager for the
presentation.
heels, yeah, but it's like if everything was just flushed out more,
Yeah.
it
And we didn't see
would have
enough
been
tag team spots that I would have liked to see a false tag. I mean, I imagine on a lot of these shows, we don't see a lot of tag matches. We see a lot of three ways, a lot of six mans, a lot of singles, a lot of intergender. But if you're going to be a tag match. And we didn't really see that, did we?
yeah, and again, we're gonna say this again, the Lost Art of Tag Team Wrestling, they did double team moves, but
They didn't
that's
build it to a point where it was meaningful because they
right,
established their double teams were not meaningful
right,
on the LNL team. And then once they happened, it's like, why do they matter? Because you showed that two does not equal one. So I'm
and
left at a severe loss here,
if
Runyon.
if you want any expansion on what we're talking about, watch Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express, and there's probably at least 5 or 6 matches on YouTube
Isolating the
where
ring,
yeah.
um, separating the midpoint, um, um, things like utilizing the referee's blindness,
Yeah,
blind
you
tags,
leveraging the
false
rules.
tags. Yeah, all these type of things that there's only one set of eyes in the referee and there's four bodies moving. There's so much
Mhm,
that can be done.
mhm.
So Runyon, we've reviewed the last match. Are we gonna cast our votes here or what?
Yeah, I think it's time to cast our votes, on the Cast As Can podcast,
We cast the questions, we catch the lies
and then we
and the
cast
truth,
votes.
and we cast our votes. So, I'm going to go first because I've been casting a lot of my opinions. I think it's been a lot more obvious about my likes and dislikes. You've maintained a little bit of mystery. And I don't think it'll be any mystery to anybody to know that my favorite match was the intergender match. It was Reverso versus Alexia.
Uh, well, I think all of the matches left something to be desired for me. I
Absolutely.
I
None of these
can
matches were something that I would
pay $20 for.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah, let's put it that way. Before
Um,
I overthink things as usual.
um, the intergender match, I can get on with what you're saying, but I can't overlook intergender wrestling because just
Fair.
the complete
I did, and I explained that was
the
part of my precipice. That was part of my pre whenever I preconceived going in. I said, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna accept that they're equals. And I put that
I
away.
can't
Just like when I'm picking Chun Li versus Blanca in Street Fighter.
in a
That
video
was the
game.
one. Yeah, exactly. So I watched it like it was a video game.
So I went with the tag team match,
Okay.
and the
So
reason
KPK versus Locked and Loaded is your best match of the year for Barrie
oh
Wrestling.
god, I don't even like saying it, but
Well,
it's the
you
one I
just
picked,
all right.
and the
I okay. Tell
reason
me.
was because if we're applying logic and reason and
Yeah.
those kinds of things and crowd work, I think
Yeah.
they came closest to what I'm looking for. They the hot tag could have been better, but at least there was something of a hot tag and the crowd came up for that. Um
I think there was a severe discrepancy in my enjoyment of that tag match and the intergender match. Like again, as I said, once I accepted that they're going to be equals, just like I can accept in a comic book that that man gained superpowers and now he can fight Superman, even though he's immortal. I accepted what they presented to me. I said, okay, let's roll with it. But in the tag match, there was so much math I had to do in my head as to the logic they were presenting, much like in the three-way match, much like in the match where we saw somebody get power bombed on the stairs in the first 4 minutes. There was too many mental gymnastics for me to do. There's only one mental gymnastic for me to do in the intergender, and other than that, I could see more of a heel than in any other match, and more of a baby face than any other match, and more um, storytelling in terms of a conflict. Wrestler A, wrestler B, logic, yes, logic, no, let's go, let's win. Injured arm, advantage. Let's let's do it. Let's get
yeah,
it done.
so I'm going to put my vote in right now. I'm going to pull this up. Okay.
I already sent mine in
Okay.
long
You
ago.
sent yours
It's
in.
it's
So
already been
I got
it's already been
here's the
accounted for.
email. So that was Barry Wrestling Match of the Year review, 5 matches. It took us a lot longer than I anticipated
To find one that we liked.
to, to find one that we liked. Gun to our head, we had to pick one, and
Three
we
pistols to
voted.
her head, maybe
Now,
one pea shooter max.
well, so
I
we have
say.
to. The winner has been announced. The winner has been announced, and
And it
who do
was
you think the winner is?
oh, I know what it was, and it's
Oh, you know.
interestingly enough, it was my least favorite match. What
I
about you?
I I I think it was my least favorite too. But
Isn't that
in
ironic?
trying to think like
Hit
the
the
way,
Alanis Morissette,
but thinking
the
the way,
Canadian content for Barry Wrestling.
but in
We
trying to
got
think
the
of the
ironic
way
match.
these wrestling fans think, I'm not surprised at what the result was. But the result was Gabriel Fuerza versus Kyle Boone in that
So let's try.
marathon
Should we
match.
try and justify it? Should we try and justify that
Well,
decision, Ryan?
I don't I couldn't justify it, but I think I get the
I'm
why.
gonna try. So get it. Tell me what you get, because I'll tell you what I get.
So, well, Fuerza has a pocket of fans that strongly support him, and they're probably marks for New Japan. And New Japan has those singles matches that are longer and are title matches, and they're marks for that. So that's what this match was. So that's the selection. You have a guy that's staunchly supported for reasons that are unfounded, and in a title match that's longish, and that's the winner. See what I'm
Okay,
saying?
so first of all, I don't understand what anything you said has to do with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Because they
It
because
doesn't recommend it
those
doesn't
extended
resemble it for
title
me.
matches, that's what I'm saying.
Who thinks that way? That when I see that match, I don't think New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think New Japan Pro Wrestling
No,
is
I
very prestigious wrestling. I want to say my piece now, though, Runyon. Um, I think that this match was chosen because there was more crazier moves in this match than any other matches. We saw the power bomb on the stairs within the first 4 minutes. We saw multiple pile drivers. We saw interference. We saw was it a table or multiple tables? We saw fighting on the outside. It was the longest match. Apparently there was buildup, there was an injury involved and some history, and that perhaps some of the fans there understood that they did not make clear in the commentary or in any of the storytelling. So to me, that's why the match was chosen, and perhaps those two hold some regard in terms of those who understand what has been done in the history of Barry Wrestling. But for me, as a viewer, coming in dry, coming in not knowing the history of any of this, it was abysmal.
I'd love to know the amount of votes that were cast and where they went. Just an interesting factoid,
That'd
but
be
I
very
don't think we'll
interesting.
find out. I don't think we'll find out.
But that's my
But yeah,
take
so
on it.
that's Barry Wrestling Match of the Year review. Um,
We're
I
glad to be
don't think
done
we'll
with it. I
review
think you
Barry
are as
Wrestling
well.
again anytime
I don't think we're
soon.
going to view much wrestling again unless the demand is there from our fans, from our viewers, who we've gotten so much fan mail from. We've gotten so much letters. We've gotten so much comments, concerns, criticisms that we are going to review those, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, so let's wrap this up. Take care, guys.